G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of Wineback Wednesday, and today venturing off to the east of Adelaide, up into the Adelaide Hills, and tasting the 2021 Whisson Piccadilly Pinot Noir, the black label. And first of all, I'll talk about Mark and Andrew Whisson. So Mark has got a Masters in Plant Biochemistry from Alberta in Canada, and after he came back to Australia, he moved to Adelaide Hills and hounded his neighbour Brian Crozer when he had Petaluma up there, and for a job, and got his first job in vineyards mainly in 1983, and after that did a lot of vineyard development and vineyard management and what have you, and mainly in vineyards. And as they say, the rest is history. And his now wife, Andre, she is a registered nurse by trade, and over the last decade or so, she has been learning on the job in all things pruning, vineyard maintenance, winemaking, and what have you. And they have a vineyard. This fruit is 100%. This wine is 100% single vineyard and 100% Pinot Noir, and it is from their vineyard up in the Piccadilly Valley, and it is the highest commercial vineyard in South Australia at 615 metres above sea level, and I suspect it's probably one of the steepest as well. It is very steep and pretty challenging in many ways. So a lot of the vineyard work is done painstakingly, slowly, I suspect, with a crawler tractor, and just got to be careful that extra step of the way being so steep. Their philosophy is trying to let the fruit sort of do the talking, and they have a little statement on their website saying where we are is who we are. So obviously they focus wholly and solely on Adelaide Hills fruit, and trying to let the vineyard and the terroir, with obviously the climate, cool climate up there, etc., doing the talking and what's in the bottle. They typically use traditional methods or Burgundian methods of making their Pinot. They do it in small batches, minimal cooling, no additions, wild fermentation, and no additions, and minimal sulphur adds prior to bottling. This wine is 10% whole bunches and 90% destemmed, and I believe it is about 17% new oak. It doesn't really give me much information on the website, but why not? Let's give it a crack. There are lots of Pinots from the Adelaide Hills. I made it for a number of years when I was at the Penthe with Peter, and in sort of early mid 90s through to early 2000s, and not many under cork. It's awesome. A little vintage on the top, 2021. But there's a lot of good ones up there, and it's one of probably the most widely planted red variety up there. Obviously a lot of it is used for sparkling base, but a lot of it is used for dry red as well. Oh gosh. It's a very good cork. It's a long way in. Here it comes, not a problem. Gosh, I'm just getting old. No. So the 2021 Whisson Lake Piccadilly Valley Pinot. Very light in colour. They're unfiltered, unfined, unfiltered. Pinot Noir is like that. It is often very fine in colour. There is sort of a cool climate in Pinot Noir, and in warm climate it's Grenache. There are obviously a lot of I suppose, what would you say? There's a lot of work and a lot of challenges with making Pinot Noir and Grenache. There are similar. One's cool climate, one's warm climate, but colour density is not one of the things you look for in Pinot Noirs. Really lifted red fruits, strawberries. There's what we call this pinosity. There's this nice gamey or meatiness to it. Some spice, some herbs. Nice fine, you can see a bit of oak in the background, there's a bit of stalkiness there. It's only got 10% stalks in it, but it's 21, so 21 was a cool year. Following up from 2020, which is quite a warm year. Yields were probably average, but then 21 was quite quite cool, and being a cool climate, so a lot of hang time. It's quite a mild, quite a dry season, so the fruit hung on and ripened slowly, and the yields were reasonably big in 2021 in most regions. So but the thing is, a Pinot Noir, you probably do tweak the yield a bit to get it down to a nice consistency through. Probably kilograms per vine is what you typically talk about often with things like Pinot Noir. Tons per acre is probably more things like Shiraz and Cabernet and what have you down in sort of warmer climates and those more robust varieties, whereas Pinot Noir is often, you narrow it down to kilograms per vine, because sometimes the vines are close planted. They may only be, so row width might be only 1.8 metres, and then row density or between the vines it may be a metre by a metre between them, and then various pruning techniques. So yeah, lifted, really lovely red fruits, cherries and strawberries, spice, that sort of gaminess to it. Soft, subtle, plenty of flavour, density, well, good balance, nice acidity. It just rolls on. It's very even, tight, good density of fruit weight. Red, again, those red fruits roll through. There's a nice sort of subtle, fine tannin with firmness. Probably a bit out of the new oak and also a bit out of the whole bunches, but not over the top. There's no sort of excessive stalkiness or greenness there. It's yeah, very smart. I think the vineyard faces east, so no, even at those cooler climates up there, if you do face true west or true north, you often get even the hot summers up there. I remember when I was working at Nepenthe, I found that the mean January temperature, which is quite a critical reference point in a vineyard, in I suppose a region's criteria that you look at to describe the region, that the mean January temperature, if it's quite high, especially in the Adelaide Hills, it can really alter the fruit quality throughout the season. Even though the fruit hasn't started ripening, we sort of found when I was up there that obviously the hotter you got early through January, typically the fruit can suffer down the track. But hey, that's obviously one of those topics that we could talk to for hours, and I'm sure that a lot of winemakers and viticulturists have their own personal views on that, but that's what I'd seen. And so 2021 was quite a cool, mild January, and then ran through to a cool, dry growing season, typically cool and dry. Yeah. What they call good pinosity. It's easy drinking, but enough firmness there, enough flavour. It's ripe enough. It's long, fresh, good acidity, good balance. And there isn't one other one, a white label above it, and I think there's the Monopole, which is I think it's even a few rows selection, which is even at the top of the higher end. So, but as an entry level wine for a business, ticks all the boxes. Very tasty. I'm enjoying that. And we'll finish it off a bit later. But thanks for listening. The 2021 Whisson Lake Piccadilly Valley Pinot Noir from Mark and Andre Whisson. Thanks for listening.